Hi again. Welcome back. This is Warren Coughlin. Are you interested in building an organizational culture that makes company growth easier and less stressful? Well, you're in the right place. This is the second in a series on organizational culture. I like to call it hip culture or high performance culture as distinct from a nice culture, which we talked about in the previous video. Today's session is going to be short but very important because it'll help highlight the distinction between building a hip or high performance culture from some of the traditional yet kind of stale advice you may have heard about how to achieve company growth. Now, I'm going to turn the video off. I just wanted to say hi on video so you know who you're talking to. But with me out of the way, you'll be able to focus on the content that'll help you understand why this is so important. All right. This little chart will show how a company normally grows and what the kind of evolution that happens. On the bottom of this chart is growth. That's on the horizontal axis. On the left side is complexity. And on the right side is what I call percentage of rock stars, the percentage of your team that you would consider really high performers. Now, when you start, in the beginning, your complexity is very low, right? It's you and a couple people, and you kind of know who you're trying to sell to, and you don't really need much sophistication because you just send out an invoice and collect. And it starts with you and a couple of rock star performers who you know and trust, so your percentage of rock stars is very high. But then as you start to succeed, some interesting things happen. You grow, which means complexity goes up, right? All of a sudden you're having to service more people. You might be having to look after inventory or be tracking more information or projects and that kind of thing. You're probably starting to have to hire people, but you're hiring because you're really busy, so you don't spend lots of time in hiring in the same way that you maybe did when you were thinking of who your colleagues were when you first started. So your percentage of rock stars starts to drop. And this is a very natural thing that happens a lot of times when businesses grow. But you create this gap in here. And in this gap is where mistakes and chaos start to happen. And it becomes harder to manage, and you become more stressful, and maybe customers get unhappy, and employees start to leave. And you've got all kinds of balls in the air. Now at this stage, a lot of people kind of go in one of three directions. Some people will say, I'm not going to grow anymore. I'm just going to stay exactly where we are. I know I can manage this much, so that's sufficient. Others say, forget it. I want to shrink. I want to go back to where we were when we were a smaller organization. Sometimes that's not possible if you're in a larger organization and you're just a leader of a department, or it may run counter to your ambitions and you want to keep growing, so then you get the advice to systemize. And so you start systemizing all the operations of your business. And that sounds logical and makes sense to a degree. But when you over-systemize, something interesting happens. Rock stars don't love systems, do they? Those systems, they remove autonomy, creativity, proactivity, collaboration. So what happens is some of your rock stars start to leave and your percentage of rock stars drops. Which means you can't rely on your people as much for that kind of creativity, proactivity, collaboration, thoughtful concern for customers and each other. Which means your systems now have to get tighter, which is probably going to drive more rock stars away. And so you're running your business on systems. Now that's fine as long as things are running smoothly. But as soon as there's a change or a shock, a change in the economy, introduction of new technology, regulatory changes, or a new competitor, all of a sudden you no longer have the passionate, super talented team to help you adjust. And all of a sudden that becomes kind of problematic because when you have to adjust to those shocks and you don't have that talent, where do you look for the advice or for the help or the assistance? You have to go outside the organization or stumble through on your own. And when this happens, one of a few things may occur. The business may stumble and tumble and cause a lot of stress. Sometimes it fails, or sometimes they have to go to somebody else to take over and help them. You get to decide which path you want to take to company growth. You can choose one based only on systems, or one that is driven by a high-performance culture supported by just enough systems to help your people unleash their talents and passions on your behalf. So that's all we're going to talk about today. You get to choose which path you want to go. I think that when you build a high-performance culture, you have more flexibility, more fun, you produce better outcomes from your people, and you're not over-systemized. But that's my bias, but you can choose what you like. Next time, though, I'm going to share some compelling evidence on how doing this will dramatically drive your business results, such as productivity, profitability, and customer satisfaction, and more. Now, in the meantime, If you are actually interested in learning about team building programs that will drive this high performance culture, visit rtgteambuildingprogram.com. There you'll learn about a really interesting initiative that, on a long-term basis, helps your team feel engaged and connected to your organization because of the positive impacts you'll have on the world. And remember to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. All right, I will see you next time when we get into some really interesting information about how building a high-performance culture will impact the business results in your organization. See you next time.